Hi folks and welcome to your Gersnet Exactly How Tense Are You on a scale of 1 to 10 ahead of tomorrow's League Cup final pod, coming to you in association with Forest Precision Engineering. My name's Alec Anderson. I'm speaking to you early on Saturday evening where I'm about to attempt the impossible task of sitting on the sofa and watching some movies as if I could care less what's on the telly tonight, as if I'm not thinking about what's going to happen in Mount Florida tomorrow. I don't know about battle fever, but the anxiety is through the roof. Last night, Friday night, I had that anxiety dream that we maybe all had where you're about to play football, you're in the dressing room and you can't wait to go out there and get, kind of kick the ball about, but you can't find your boots. And then when you do find your boots, your lace snaps. And then when you get new laces, you realise you don't have your shirt, you can't find it. The manager comes in, that's half time. We're going to be lucky to get you on for the last 5 or 10 minutes of the game. Oh no, I want to get my foot. But then you wake up in your bed and you realise it's all right. Don't panic, you're far too old, you're far too fat to be playing foot. But anyway, tonight, the eve of the cup final, I'll probably have that anxiety doing, but I can't find my match ticket. I spend so much time looking for my match ticket, I end up missing my train. I get to Central late, the queue for the Mount Florida train's absolutely massive. Then when I get down to Hampden, I end up somehow outside the Celtic end of the police one to let me walk around at the Rangers end. Every time I go all around about the hussies, the game's by, the Rangers have lifted the cup and I've missed the whole thing, but I'll wake up in bed tomorrow morning and it'll be a case of, no, I'll let you know your match ticket is, and you get plenty of time to go to Hampden, don't worry about it. And then tomorrow night, Sunday night into Monday, I'll probably have that, that really embarrassing anxiety dream that we all have, where you're walking buck naked in the middle of Cathcart Road and the only thing you've got to protect your goalies is a kind of big effigy, a papier-mâché effigy of the Scottish League Cup trophy that you wake up on Monday morning in the cells, because it's absolutely true. You did that, and that's precisely the level of celebration that will be perfectly in order tomorrow night if Rangers bring home that little three-handled silver lidless beauty of a trophy, that little kind of post-war social contract Clement Attlee belter of a trophy. In 1945-46 was the last ever Southern League Cup, and then they gave us the Scottish League Cup. 46-47, Rangers won the first one. Let's make sure Rangers win the last one. 28 times. That's what we want. 28 times at Ibrox. Get it back to that trophy room that it knows better than any other trophy room in Scottish football. Bring it home, Rangers. A lot of Rangers fans, part of the anxiety, I think, I've started saying how it shouldn't be the limit of our ambition that we've won all three of the major trophies for the first time since we were in the lower leagues. No, because this would complete the set. We won the League Ones, we won the Scottish Cup last season, and now we'd win the Scottish League Cup. I don't think there's any danger of that. We were in a European final 9 months ago, boys. I don't think there's any danger that we're going to settle for this, or that this is a limit of our ability, never mind our ambition. But just as managers will tell you that to win any competition, you need to take it one game at a time. To get back to dominance, all-out dominance even, you need to win one trophy at a time. We need to get this thing under our belt. What did you do with your Saturday, for example? What did you do today when Rangers aren't playing? You don't have them to worry about, so you also don't even have Celtic to worry about, because for once we don't have to rely on anybody else, slipping Celtic up or tripping Celtic up. It can be us. We've got them. We're facing up to them tomorrow. We might not be costing them league points, but we can cost them a trophy, and that might go on to affect how they play in the run into the league this season. I went to see Kilsyth Athletic against Thorn Athletic in the West of Scotland League 4th Division. Quite a bit of symbolism there in the Kilsyth Athletic playing a kind of day-glow yellow kit, which in the passing it looks a bit green, and they're set up the top of the league, and they're in a town where the big team are called Rangers, Kilsyth Rangers, and they're 2-0 up today, top of the league, against 10 men, and the 10 men were wearing blue shirts, and they come back to equalise in the last minute, bringing it back to 2 weeks, so that was nicely symbolic. But never mind the symbolism, in real terms, I'm watching there for the first time in my life a game, a non-league game in the west of Scotland that didn't involve sides who'd been in the junior setup. None of these teams, neither of these teams were come back through the old SGFA West or ever part of the SGFA. They were on the junior sides. That's why they didn't get any pies probably. But cracking little community sides. But the only reason they're in this setup now, this system, the pyramid system that can get them up, 5 leagues of 80, 5 divisions of 80 teams almost that get you up into the Lowland League, and if you win up through that, play off against the Highland League, you end up in the Scottish League. It's a path that's been well trodden by a few teams lately. The only reason that happens is because of the death of the Scottish Football League, the second or third oldest league body in the world. It died at 123 years old back in 2013. The league body whose name is on the trophy we're going for tomorrow, the Scottish Football League Cup. It was them that invented this cup. They had to get knocked out the way. They had to go because it was just too inconvenient, because they were maybe against the pyramid system. But Scottish football in 2013 was so busy trying to pretend that it didn't need Rangers in the top flight, or didn't need Rangers in the top 2 or 3 flights, they would get on with it. Certainly the supporters of other teams in the top flight were saying that they would just carry on as normal, that the Scottish football wouldn't miss Rangers. But the fact that it had to be completely rejigged altogether and reorganised in this pyramid system that had been a myth for most of my life was finally brought in, seems to indicate that Scottish football kind of changed itself root and branch to compensate for the fact that they'd lost to the biggest club in the land down to the bottom division. For us to come back and have won all three of the major league trophies in the space of a decade, the major domestic trophies in this country in the space of a decade, and finish it off with the one with the Scottish Football League written on the side of it, I think would be better than symbolic. It would just be absolutely great fun. It would mean that the world to me. How are we going to do it? Just get ripped in about them. Listen, I hope you watched last night's preview pod. That's what I'm here to talk to you about. We've got plenty of content for you. What else could we do at Gersnet in a week like this when we've got a final like this coming up? Dougie was on with Craig Ray hosting last night. That pod's still available, a proper cup final preview pod on our YouTube channel. Also, whatever platform you get your pods on, it's there. The boys get right into it. They're even talking about the inductees into the Hall of Fame from last week. The 3 inductees into the Rangers Hall of Fame. But mostly they're talking about the personnel that's going to go in the park tomorrow, what they thought the starting 11 was going to be, what the injuries they think Michael B was bluffing about, what are the real injuries, and they get right in about it. Also, we had Colin Armstrong, Mr. Gersnet himself. There's a link via Frankie's Twitter page to a blog post, an article that Colin put out in his blog about the 1983-84 League Cup final where Rangers beat Celtic 3-2 after extra time. And Alan McCoy's hat-trick against Celtic, and 2 of those goals came from penalties. Well, they wouldn't they? Because it's a massive Masonic conspiracy. What Colin also mentions, though, inconveniently, is the fact that Rangers conceded a penalty to Celtic in the last minute of normal time to take that game into extra time. Can you imagine it happened the other way about tomorrow? All this talk we've been getting this week about penalties and all these decisions that are going to go for Rangers, it got me kind of thinking, I'll go into my mind palace or Wikipedia and I'll find out exactly how many penalties Rangers and Celtic have been awarded in major cup finals between the two teams. Old Firm Cup finals at Hampden. It's 9-5 to Celtic, folks. Of course, I might not study that properly. Might be 1 or 2 out. You have a look at it yourself. Obviously, I'm part of the conspiracy. I'm a big Mason myself. So, as far as I can see, Rangers scored the 1928 Scottish Cup final from the penalty spot in our 4-0 win over Celtic in that famous cup final. After that, I've got the 2 from Ali in the League Cup final 1984, Super Davy Cooper scoring 1 from the penalty spot against Celtic in the 86-87 League Cup final, and then we had Alfredo missing in the 2019 League Cup final from the spot. Against that, I mean, with Celtic, the first time they played us in the League Cup final, they beat us 7-1. If it was any time that Rangers needed help for the Masons, it was in that League Cup final, but Celtic were the only team awarded a penalty in that game. John Hughes, the original Yogi, who's scored a couple of goals from the penalty spot against us in the mid-60s League Cup final. Josh Connolly scored against us in the 1973 Scottish Cup final from the spot. Harry Hood scored against us in the 71 Scottish Cup final replay from the spot. The only goal of the 1977 Scottish Cup final, the first Scottish Cup final I remember, it was live at the telly. I remember watching it. Andy Lynch, 1-0 Celtic, only got a Celtic penalty. God, I mean, Aidan McGeady, our favourite, he scores in the last minute of extra time when the game's poised at 1-0 to Celtic in the 2008-2009 League Cup final. Can you imagine if Rangers are winning by a single goal, got into extra time, and are awarded a penalty right at the end of extra time? Because apparently it's not about the veracity of the decisions themselves, it's just about the numbers. James Tavernier gets 50 penalties for Rangers. They must be cheating. Well, Celtic are beating us 9-5 on penalties in major cup finals. And as you will remember, the last time we played Celtic in the League Cup final, their goal was scored from an offside goal, an offside shot on target. You'll remember it. Nobody else will. You'll remember it as a blue nose. But the main thing I remember that day was the sense of the night being darkest just before the dawn. It was such a dark day. It was like December, so it was almost calendar-wise the shortest day of the year. It's certainly, the sun never seemed to come up. It was a dreich day, a dank day. It was a freezing day, and I remember the fear coming from the east end of the stadium. Very, very quiet for most of the game. The Celtic support that day because Rangers were dominating and they were on it. We couldn't push it over the line though. And following hard upon us losing the Scottish Cup final to Hibs after being ahead in that game as well, you could almost be forgiven for thinking, are we ever going to win anything? But I think I came away from Hampden that day thinking, no, this is the night's darkest just before the dawn. It's not going to get any worse than this. That was as low as we go. The following season, we won the league without losing a game. Season after that, we win the Scottish Cup. Tomorrow, we go into a game where things are completely different. That team in 2019, they've been completely rebuilt. The whole infrastructure at Rangers has been completely rebuilt since 2012. there was a personnel there that weren't used to winning trophies together, not top trophies anyway. This team tomorrow do. They know how to do. They've been beat Borussia Dortmund a year ago. We know what we're doing now. This isn't about having to win this game in order to get ourselves back into the top of Scottish football. It's only going to be us or Celtic in Scottish football from now on at the top end of the table. It's about a gear change, just a slight gear change from what we were with Steven Gerrard when Michael Beale was part of his coaching staff. Now Michael Beale is the main man. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm also completely dreading it. You want a score prediction? I'm the last person in the world that should predict a score, but I just feel as if the most unexpected thing tomorrow would be if it was 0-0. As I was saying in the preview pod last night, the most unexpected thing would be if this game finished 0-0. We've got two teams here who like to attack and like to score a goal, then another one quickly after. I've got it in my mind there's going to be 6 goals, probably 4-2 to somebody. I don't know who. So for God's sake, do not put any money on 4-2 to either team tomorrow, because I am always 100% wrong. It'll probably end up being 0-0 and somebody will win 4-2 in penalties. But I hope it's us. And if it is, you should join us tomorrow night. I'll have a bit of post-match reaction outside Hampden if we do the business. But also you should be on tomorrow night's main pod, 9:30. Colin Armstrong, Mr. Gersnet himself, the heartbeat of Gersnet, will be on. He'll be hosting Mr. Chris Jack, the author and journalist Chris Jack, and David Fraser, one of the OGs of Gersnet. And I hope that we're all in a fantastic mood, and I'm doing that thing with the effigy of the Scottish League Cup down Cathcart Road, and I think we're all anxious enough without me putting images like that in your head. Good night, troops. See you tomorrow.